Hey guys, welcome back to New Rockstars. My name is Sam Basher and I love superheroes. Not sure if that is clear by this time of all the numerous, flash breakdowns that I've done in the trailer Easter egg hunts, but I just want to make it clear. I want to come out and say that I love superheroes. I love them. I love everything about them. I love their stories. I love their costumes. I love how they team up. I love their powers. I love everything. And what I love most, though, is when all of them get to play together. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, it's good when they're written well and the stories are compelling, but, it's how cool is it when Wolverine and Batman get to punch each other? It's just so cool, and that's why the news of the possibility of Disney buying out most of the assets from 20th Century Fox makes fans so excited. This is signaling to us that our Marvel family will finally be back together. Minus all those weird Sony movies about Spider-Man, Venom, and Black and Silver. I don't know what they're doing over there. I just really hope they stop. It's just silly. Anyway, the big thing here is that our family is finally back together. The MCU will have another homecoming. The estranged X-Men side of the family will be back. They're gonna have a big party. I hope I'm invited. And this means we'll finally get some of our fan favorite team-ups in the comics on the big screen. Finally, imagine the possibilities. No, really, give it a go because I did, and now I'm gonna share some of my awesome potential what-ifs with you. Oh, they just made me so excited. Let's kick it off with the one showdown that I've been dying for, Hulk versus Wolverine. Wolverine was introduced in the Incredible Hulk issue 180 back in 1974, and it's been a never-ending fan debate of just exactly which of these heroes would be the victor in a one-on-one fight. Now, who would play Wolverine in this new era? That's hard to say. Hugh Jackman seems pretty much done with the role, understandably, so we could get a newbie, maybe. Who do you think could possibly win in this fight, by the way? Ultimate healing ability versus unstoppable strength. Duke it out in the comments down below. I think the Hulk would win. One really cool thing we could see is the exploration of Scarlet Witch's character with the knowledge that her real father is Magneto, depending on which comic you're reading. And also, let's not focus on the current status of Scarlet Witch's family situation in the MCU because it's a little depressing, but this could lead to some pretty epic storylines. In the X-Men films, we've mainly focused on Magneto's troubled past and more extremist viewpoints, but we haven't had too much of Magneto, the teacher. Imagine Magneto having to talk down Scarlet Witch when she goes full chaos magic and starts warping reality. Ooh, pretty cool. Also, I wouldn't mind if the writers found a way to work Evan Peters' Quicksilver into the MCU. Not to get into a fan debate about which Quicksilver is better, MCU or the X-Men, but I personally prefer Peter from the X franchise, and I'd love to see that specific speedster taking on Thanos. He's already fought one purplish person before. Purple-ish. Speaking of Magneto, imagine him taking on the Avengers for just a second. Like an actual superpowered villain that the team needs to take on. What do we want? Magneto ripping apart Tony Stark's suits, maybe even crushing Cap's shield. What would happen if, Vision and Magneto duked it out? See, it's getting pretty exciting the more you think about it. And of course, we'd have our Avengers become more resourceful and then up their game, and then eventually they'd beat Magneto, cause of course. But sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here, and we'll be back to villains in a little bit. But back to the hero team-ups. Actually, this does bring up an interesting point, though. Imagine the Avengers having to deal with the introduction of superpowered beings on Earth, ignoring the Inhumans because Marvel, the company, seems to be doing that. I watched all of the Inhumans TV show because I hate myself. I'd say they look to recruit a few of these mutants as fast as possible. Personally, one of my favorite runs of the Avengers had Beast on the team, and I personally love seeing him with those teammates. It's really exciting for me. But if they wanted to pick a more popular hero, I'd say maybe like Kitty Pryde because she has been a part of the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy before. Maybe even Rogue because she's currently leading an Avengers team in the comics. Wolverine because he's part of one of my favorite runs of the New Avengers written by Brian Michael Bendis, or even possibly working with Professor X. Maybe Professor X wouldn't be an asset in the field, but he could be a coordinator and use telepathy to, link the team up. Speaking of teams, by the way, I think this could be an opening for the Fantastic Four to get another shot at the big screen, and it could finally work. Maybe. Sure, the first Fantastic Four outing wasn't a total failure. The sequel didn't do great, but Josh Trank's Fant Four stick really left a bad taste in fans' mouths. I think that the MCU could really nail these characters, whether it be on the big screen or on the small screen with a Fantastic Four TV show, possibly. This team is right in Marvel's wheelhouse, and with that, we could finally get the Thing versus the Hulk fight that would be just epic, or flip it, and you can get the Thing and Thor teaming up and going on intergalactic adventures. I know, in Thor Ragnarok, you got the Hulk and Thor teaming up, but the original team-up buddy cop story that you all love was the Thing and Thor. Big rock guy versus a hammer guy. Also, in case you didn't see it, Chris Evans tweeted about the Human Torch and Cap meeting and how weird it would be. But if it was Michael B. Jordan's Human Torch, that could be actually a little bit exciting. But if Marvel just wanted to go as weird as possible for my benefit, I'd love to see Chris Evans play both roles. Why? I don't know. Because I'm a child on the inside, that's all I want. Come on, I'm gonna start a tantrum in the theater. Also worth bringing up, the Fantastic Four has switched up its roster a few times in the past, sometimes to include She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Scott Lang's Ant-Man, the Inhumans, the list goes on and on. So if Marvel wanted to stray away from the Avenger films after Phase 4, the Fantastic Four could be their new baby to work with. Just think about it. But back to the other awesome team-ups that would be awesome to see on the big screen. Here are the two that I'm personally most excited for. One, Spider-Man and Deadpool. Doesn't have to be a versus movie, Dawn of whatever, but maybe just a team-up film. I know what you're thinking, our current Spider-Man is so young and innocent, and him interacting with Deadpool, a killer, could just ruin the boy. But right now, their team-up comic is one of the most delightful series each month that I get to pick up, and I love the idea of Deadpool being a huge fan of Spider-Man and wanting to impress him, so they work together. Would that work in a movie form? I don't know, but it wouldn't hurt to try. Sometimes it does hurt to try, but hey, staying positive. Now, the one team-up that I want to see most of all is Black Panther and Storm. I know the current status of Storm in the movies is kind of weird. She's younger, but it's in the 90s, so maybe present day she'd be older. I don't know how they do it in the MCU, but if the X-Men were introduced in the MCU films, I would love to see a relationship with Storm and Black Panther because I love the relationship in the comics. And I know every studio loves a will they or won't they storyline between their characters, and I don't think a lot of people really bought the whole Hulk and Black Widow relationship. I'll be honest, I didn't. So these two could be your next big it couple. Come on, you love that fan fiction, don't you? Also, just imagine the fight scenes. You'd see Black Panther stalking some like terrorists or drug dealers in the jungle. He's climbing through the trees and then crash. You see a lightning strike overhead and you pan up and you see Storm just floating there, wide-eyed and everything. Together they just take out the bad guys and bam, they're making out. Ooh, is it hot in here? Is it just me? But enough about those boring heroes. Let's talk about the villains. Fox has been sitting on Marvel's best baddies for a while now, and now we're gonna see them take on the Avengers, hopefully. If you guys don't know, I'm talking about Magneto, Dr. Doom, even Galactus. Imagine that, people, the Avengers versus another purple giant. He better not be some cloud floating around in space, I'll tell you that. He better be just some giant dude with boots on and a fork on his head. If I don't get that fork, ooh, I'm not gonna be happy. Let me know in the comments if you'd be upset if he didn't have that fork on his head. Also, that would mean that we'd have the Silver Surfer in the MCU, and that would mean we would get one of my favorite Marvel characters, and that makes me pretty happy. I know it's selfish, but I don't care. And just think about this, you'd finally get a team of villains versus a team of heroes, which DC kind of teased with the Legion of Doom, but maybe Marvel could get to it first. Who knows, maybe. But back to the villains for a second. Imagine seeing our team of Avengers going to Latveria and having to take on Doom. The current Avengers wouldn't do so well. It'd be very scary. Or even imagine Doom teaming up with Doctor Strange in his own solo movie to go to hell to save Doom's mother. That's a very popular story for Doom. Or even imagine seeing Doom go through a redemption arc and becoming the infamous Iron Man, the current character he is in the comics. Now, I wouldn't need that, but these are just possibilities. Hell, we could even get Namor, since his ownership is all over the place. I'm not really sure if that's possible, but imagine he could actually be in the MCU. He is part mutant, so it makes sense he's part of this buy-up, but he might actually also be owned by Universal, so who knows? What we do know is that this would give us some classic Namor versus Avengers storylines, and we'd see a whole new side of the MCU, Atlantis, which is another name for this underwater world. It would differentiate the MCU from DC and Atlantis and Aquaman. However they introduce him, he would have ties to both the X-Men and the Avengers, being that he's also mutant, and we would have one of Marvel's most complicated characters. He's sometimes a hero, sometimes a vicious killer. Could be very interesting to see the King of Atlantis go up against the King of Wakanda, King versus King. Haven't seen that yet in the MCU. And now back to Magneto for just a second to talk about the mutant cause. Imagine having to deal with Magneto on a grander scale. Not just mutants trying to stop him, but the whole world. Think of his ideology being explored on a larger scale, or even a smaller scale, like possibly a Netflix series. So far, the Netflix series have really handled more difficult topics very well, so imagine them having to deal with X-Men or mutant racism in a 13-episode series, much like Luke Cage or Jessica Jones. Something like this in a TV show or even a movie could lead to one of my favorite comic book events actually coming to the big screen, House of M, a world where mutants are king. Magneto and his family are the top dogs, and mutants feel at home finally. They're finally welcomed, and the Avengers have to find a way to turn everything back, because it's not perfect. It's not totally perfect. But hey, if that story's not your cup of tea, imagine all the other major Marvel events that could play out on the big screen with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four versus the rest of the MCU. We could have either version of Secret Wars, one being on Battleworld where all the characters have to fight each other, or a world made up of different pieces of the multiverse that's led by God Doom. Yes, God Doom. It's very scary. Maybe even Secret Invasion. You could have the Skrulls shape-shifting and replacing key heroes in the MCU, and then the X-Men and the Avengers have to team up in space. Ooh. There are so many storytelling possibilities with this merger, and I just can't wait. What are we definitely getting in some form or another? Avengers versus X-Men. Probably. I mean, we had Thor versus Iron Man for some reason in the first Avengers movie. I mean, they didn't have to fight. They could have just talked about it. Let's be real. But that's it, guys. Here's just some quick bonuses that I just, came to my head. Number one, we'd finally have a full Marvel universe. Not just heroes and all the people on Earth, but also the aliens as well. We wouldn't just get some weird hybrids of them or reconfiguring storylines so that we don't step on the toes of other studios. We'd actually have a full roster of aliens out in the Marvel universe. The Guardians of the Galaxy would have a whole new set of foes to go up against. It'd be very exciting. Two, if Sony decided to stop being weird about their Venom solo movie and the rest of their weird Spider-Man solo movies and just wrap them up into the MCU, we could finally get Venom versus the X-Men and Avengers, and then we could possibly get Venom versions of our favorite heroes, and I just eat that up. I love that kind of stuff. We're getting a Spider-Verse animated movie. Why not a Venomverse movie? It's an idea. And three, the final one, Deadpool versus Thanos. They're both in love with Mistress Death, and I would love to see Thanos fight someone that just couldn't die. Just can't, no matter what, just can't. He just always heals, he can't die. But anyways, guys, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below or on Twitter @SamBasher which of these team-ups would be your favorite, or maybe some that I may have missed that you'd like to see. But before you do that, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more breakdowns. We've got a bunch of Last Jedi stuff coming your way, and make sure you check out Need to Know. It's a show that I'm on. We talk about nerdy stuff. It's pretty fun. But again, guys, I'm Sam Basher. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.